Hello everybody, my name is Marianne Macumber and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my weekly high protein meal prep. It's going to include teriyaki chicken with lo mein, and I have deer summer sausage, and it's going to be with a bunch of greens. I have collard greens growing outside. And then for breakfast, I'm going to be making the usual oatmeal protein pancakes. So what I have right here is chicken thighs in teriyaki sauce that I made a long time ago. I don't remember what I put into it, but I know that it was a marinade that gone wrong and I turned it into a teriyaki chicken to save it, hopefully. I'm going to put these chicken thighs onto a baking sheet. This is for the air fryer. My air fryer has a baking function, so I'm just gonna do that instead of using the big oven. The reason why is because it's easier and faster to preheat a small chamber instead of like a whole regular oven, full-size oven. So instead of like 30 minutes to preheat a whole oven, it's going to take like 10-15 minutes. Yeah, this thing has soy sauce, I think hoisin sauce, I'm not sure. There's a lot of things that went into it. I don't remember how much was in it, but I know that there's soy sauce and cumin in there because I could smell it. There's also like ginger and garlic in there as well. I have a lot of marinade inside my bag here, so I might just use it for the noodles. I mean, that'd be a smart idea. I'm going to put these into a preheated oven that's at like 400 degrees, and I'm going to keep it in there for about 30 minutes or until the inside is at 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Always wash your hands after touching raw meat. So if you want like a teriyaki recipe, let me know, but at the same time you could also go to the store and get like teriyaki marinade. I know that there's a Japanese barbecue teriyaki marinade, but there's marinades in store, so you can just easily pick one up and then just dump it onto your chicken and let it marinate for about like 30 minutes to an hour in the fridge. So while the oven's preheating, I'm gonna measure out my spaghetti. I like to use thin spaghetti for lo mein, mostly because it feels like I get more for the same weight, because like if I did regular spaghetti, it would look like a few strands, whereas if I did thin spaghetti, it would feel like I did a lot. It feel like I cooked a lot. So if you ever want to meal prep and make yourself feel like you got a lot, use smaller spaghetti. I'm just gonna use a tall cup to measure the spaghetti because it's much easier to hold. So if I'm gonna be doing 5 servings and each serving is 56 grams, I'm gonna measure out 280 grams of pasta. Since it's dry, I'm able to easily take some out and put it back in to the container. And now I have 280 grams of pasta. Now, hopefully you know how to make pasta. If you don't, then follow the instructions on the box of your spaghetti container, and hopefully you'll be able to do it without burning it. Now that the pot of water is bubbling, near boiling, I'm going to add some salt into the water. There you go. So now that I disturbed the surface tension, it can bubble freely. Now I'm gonna dump in the measured pasta. I'm gonna get these quickly submerged so that they can all cook evenly. All right, and now I'm gonna cook this to the instructions labeled on the box. Now the chicken thighs are done. I'm gonna let them rest for a few minutes. The internal temperature is 165 degrees, so I'm just gonna let them rest for a little bit so I can get back a little bit of their juices that are sitting around here. Now I finished cooking my pasta. I rinsed it off in cold water so that it can stop cooking itself, because if it's hot, the pasta will still continue cooking itself. And it will probably become mushy if you do. So definitely rinse it off with cold water. And I'm gonna let it air dry a little bit, because when I put in the lo mein sauce, it will soak up the lo mein sauce and incorporate it into each noodle. So right now I'm trying not to buy new things for different recipes. I don't have cabbage and matchstick carrots. So instead, I'm gonna put a Normandy blend into my lo mein because, I don't know, I have it and it's very filling. So I'm gonna let it steam itself for a little while, and then I'm gonna add the pasta and the sauce with it. So I had the marinade of the chicken to the vegetables, but it wasn't enough, so I added a bit more soy sauce, dark soy sauce, hoisin, and some rice vinegar. I also added some granulated garlic and onion. Now I'm just gonna let it cook with the vegetables for a little bit. Now I'm gonna add my pasta. I'm gonna let it sit in here for a little bit, toss it up and make sure that it absorbs all the sauce. Now I'm gonna let it simmer a little bit to get up to heat because of course we used the chicken marinade, so it has to get up to heat and kill all the bacteria from the chicken. And we're gonna let the sauce soak into the noodles. So a few minutes later, you can see that the majority of the sauce has been taken up. Some of the broccoli has been broken up, like some of the florets are broken up and into the noodles, but that's fine. You can add some pepper at this point if you want. I'm probably not gonna make it too spicy, so I'll probably add a little bit of pepper in a minute, but I'm just gonna grab one noodle and see how it tastes. Add a little bit of dark soy sauce for a little bit more color. Yeah, that's the color I want. This is good on its own. I'm just gonna add a little bit of sesame oil. I'm not gonna add too much because it's a very overwhelming flavor. And now I'm going to divide this into their servings and plate everything up. Gonna put it off into one side. And now I'm gonna divide all the lo mein. It's okay if some of them are slightly more than the others. It's usually gonna be eaten within the week, so you don't have to worry too much. It'll balance out once the week is done. And there we have it, 5 teriyaki chicken with lo mein ready to go for the week. Now for my rice, I'm gonna pull out my Instant Pot. Why? I'll show you why in a minute. This is red and wild rice from Winco. This and the ancient grain blend is the ones that I usually like to eat now. It's mostly just to get like a little bit more micronutrients into my diet. It's also like pretty filling compared to like regular jasmine rice or long grain rice. I like to do this one instead. So a general rule of thumb is like putting a 1/4 cup dry as your serving size. So I'm gonna measure out 1 1/4 cup of this rice and I'm gonna make 5 servings. Just gonna put it in 5 servings. 1. Let me see if I have a 1/4 cup. I do have a 1/4 cup. 1 and a 1/4. Cool, so now I have 5 servings of rice here and I'm gonna wash it and then I'm gonna add some water to it. I also forgot to say, but I add black rice. Whenever you look at like Korean mixed grain, multi-grain rice and it turns purple, that's because of black rice. This is available at Winco as well. So I just get it in bulk and I put like 2 tablespoons into a cup, roughly a cup of rice so that it can turn purple and I can get some anthocyanins in my diet. Now I'm gonna go wash it. Now into my bowl, I'm gonna add 1 1/2 cups of water. That's because mixed grain rice requires a little bit more water to get to the same texture as white rice. You can see a bit that the water is turning a little bit purple. That's kind of what we want. I'm gonna put it in the Instant Pot on high pressure cook and it's gonna cook for 20 minutes. I'm gonna let it naturally release for about 30 minutes or until the pressure stopper drops into the lid. So it's already on 20 high. And I'm just gonna make sure that this seal is not on venting. But yeah, now I'm gonna let it do its thing. And about an hour later, we're gonna have some rice. Now that the rice is done cooking, we're gonna open it and see how it looks. So you can see that everything around is purple. You can see that the rice is completely purple and fully cooked. So let's just stir this and put it into their pre-portioned meals. So right now I have some collard greens that I pulled from my garden. I don't have much because there were bugs and caterpillars that were eating everything out of it. So some of them have been sacrificed to the birds and these are the remaining leaves. So right now I'm gonna take away all of the thick stalk. So I'm just gonna look at the main line the main stem, and I'm going to run my knife along it until the very end. Now I have a whole half leaf of collard greens. So I'm just gonna do this with every single one of these leaves I have here. So I have all my leaves here. You can do something with these stalks like compost or blend them up and put them into vegetable soup or something. But I don't have that right now. So I'm just gonna either freeze these or put them at the bottom of the soil of my plants. I'm just gonna roughly stack up these collard greens and I'm gonna cut them finely. Not like too fine, I'm just gonna roughly chop them up. It doesn't have to be perfect because these things are gonna be wilting down almost like spinach, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Also, I'm not the best at knife skills, but this is all I got. So I like to hold my knife by the, I don't even know how to say this because like it's been a long time since I had home ec, so I don't remember the parts of the knife. But like I'm gonna hold it by the blade. I feel like it's called the back, I'm not sure. But I'm gonna hold it by the blade. My thumb is pushing into all my index finger, my middle finger that's on the blade. And I'm just gonna tuck the pointer finger in and I'm just gonna chop like this. I try not to do this because when I do this, I start wobbling back and forth and it makes me lose control of my knife and probably cut myself. And I've cut myself multiple times before. I'm not gonna show you because if you could see my hands, you could probably guess how and where. But yeah, this is all the collard greens that I have from my garden that survived. That survived the caterpillar attack. I'm just gonna set these aside and then I'm gonna cut up my deer sausage. This deer summer sausage is homemade, home cured, and home smoked. And you can see like all the little bits of fat. This is because this summer sausage is a mix of deer and pork meat. So there's gonna be like little bits of fat in there. I don't exactly know the macros on this, but I'm just mostly trying to get rid of everything that's in my fridge and freezer. So right now I'm just taking off the casing for it. This is inedible, so I'm just gonna toss it out. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna cut the sausage in half. And since I'm having it with rice, I like to keep it a little bit big, but at the same time, I want it to be small enough where I can fit it on the spoon. So I'm just gonna cut it fairly small, but not too small. Again, I don't have the best knife skills, but still gets the job done. Yeah, so I'm gonna do like little ribbons like this. Also, this summer sausage is super salty. So when I put the mushroom in there, it's going to, all the water from the mushroom is going to get all of the salts and such out of this. Now my summer sausage is cut all the way down. I'm not gonna cut it any further and I'm just gonna put it into a pot. So in a pot, I put my summer sausage and my collard greens. Honestly, this is gonna be more like a stewed collard greens, but I don't have enough collard greens. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add this 16-ounce can of home canned portobello mushrooms. So I don't have to worry about like salt, and all the broth from the mushrooms is in here, so it's gonna add more of a umami flavor. All right, so now I'm just gonna add everything in there and we're gonna let it stew up for a few minutes. I'm gonna season everything once all of the salt is removed from the summer sausage. So I added a little bit of chopped frozen spinach because the collard greens honestly kind of look pretty sad inside of the pot with all the meat. So now that all the salt is inside the broth, I'm going to add a little bit of garlic powder, onion powder, and a bit of paprika. The summer sausage is already flavorful on its own and I don't want to add too much to it. So just gonna mix it all up and taste how it is right now. I'm not quite sure if I need to add a little bit more salt because I added so much spinach, but if I do, I'll just add it to taste. All right, so I'm gonna divide the rice up first. And now I'm gonna divide up the collard greens. And these are my lunches and dinners for the next week.